Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you have a great and wonderful day. And it seems that it's not going too great. This is more going along with like inflation, the money costs, and I'll get to the bigger stuff obviously today. But it just seems that it seems that a lot of the thing is just going downhill. Everything is collapsing around our eyes, whether it's down to either war or our banks or our money in general. We're just putting hard to putting food on the table, and I feel for people that can't do this. And it's just unfortunate. But what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have Bank of America closes 21 branches in 1 week, while Wells Fargo shutters 15. It's your local on the list. Major U.S. banks are continuing to close branches across the U.S., leaving an increasing number of Americans without access to basic financial services. Bank of America axed 21 branches in the first week of October, according to a bulletin published by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency on Friday. Wells Fargo shuttered 15, while U.S. Bank and Chase reported closing 9 and 3, respectively. This is not good. In total, some 54 locations had either closed or were scheduled to close between October 1 and October 7th. Of the overall closures, there were 3 in Louisville in Kentucky. 8 of the 21 Bank of America closures were in California. On Friday, major U.S. banks, including Wells Fargo and J.P. Morgan Chase, reported their third quarter earnings are increasing revenue thanks to higher interest rates. Saw both banks' revenues increase. This month's closure come after an exclusive poll by DailyMail.com revealed that 51% of consumers said that they were very or somewhat concerned about the declining number of bank branches. Only 18% said they were not at all concerned. The survey also found that the brick and mortar services are less accessible to Black Americans. While 14% of Black Americans said they did not have a local branch, that was only the case for 8% of white Americans. In March, Senator Sherrod Brown sent a letter to the OCC wanting to launch an inquiry into the impact of such closures on lower income communities. When banks close a branch, they must notify the OCC. In a statement to DailyMail.com in August, a spokesperson said the OCC understands the importance of bank branches and is committed to supporting access to banking services in all communities. They also noted that although banks and credit unions need to notify their primary regulator of closures, the statute that requires them to do so does not allow the regulator to object to the closure. It is also noted that the OCC does not regulate all banks in the U.S. My problem with the banks is this, that everything is coming into more of a digital financial security thing, and I can understand both people's terms of what they want to do with their money in terms of having it more in physical hands or digital. I have a hard time doing things normally, knowing where my current state of California is, and the amount of people that do pickpockets and stuff like that. Even though I don't know how much of a normalcy it is in CA or other areas, I do have this somewhat general fear of somebody taking my wallet and getting all my money that is within my wallet. Of course, some people might be walking around with thousands of dollars or hundreds, which is their own choice. But I feel like digital is just safer because it's less harder to get at. In terms of maybe from wallet, and you can contact your bank immediately if you notice that you've been hijacked or whatever, as long as you're not dead. I mean, if you're dead, it doesn't really matter, right? To protect your account and be like, my wallet was just stolen, can I have my account closed, or etc., and have them put a stop to the account in general, so that way they can, your money doesn't get stolen. But I can see where people want to have physical money, because you always have money around. You don't have to worry about it. Where you have to worry about the digital currency and stuff like that. So I can see both sides, and I don't think banks in particular are very nice to certain groups of people. Let's just say the conservative branch doesn't seem to be very sought at or liked by many of these far left banks. And the closure of these banks is also a concern because people do need money to put food on the table. Because how else are you going to keep tens of thousands of dollars on person where you're going to put all that? So you obviously need a bank to house that kind of money. And of course, you can't really do this if you don't have a bank present. And I have a problem with digital currency and how much I want to make everything digital. This also says here, data from S&P Global Market Intelligence shows a total of 1,144 national and regional banks were closed between January 1st and July 31st across 49 states, with firms pulling out some areas at a faster rate than others. Across the board, Americans are suffering a zip code lottery when it comes to accessing a branch. Recent research by DailyMail.com found that New Jersey has seen the highest proportion of bank closures of any U.S. state between January and August this year. Some 9 branches had closed for every million people in the Garden State. It was followed by D.C., Connecticut, North Dakota, and Virginia. It seems that majorities are happen to be, well, no, Virginia is currently now, I guess you could call it a red state. But a lot of these seem to be blue states, which means it seems to be heading very, very hard in blue states. I'm not very surprised by this. By comparison, Vermont residents remained relatively unscathed by the bank branch closure bloodbath, with no locations closing during this time period. Nebraska, West Virginia, South Carolina, and Idaho had similarly seen less than one branch closed per 1 million residents. As banks are axing branches, they are also increasingly turning toward digital services, as I've been mentioning before, a development which has sped up hugely by COVID-19 pandemic. Nerves surrounding transmitting the virus deterred households from exchanging cash and encouraged them to use digital payment apps such as Venmo and Block Corporation's Cash App. A study by the Federal Reserve showed a 12.4% jump in digital transactions in the first quarter of 2021 alone. Now, I don't like any of these digital money things in general. I guess you could say banks are less digital, but there is a lot of digital going into terms of banks. And I don't like these digital apps because they lean heavily on the left, and they ever find you even remotely somewhat on the right, they have a somewhat of need to bar you from using money. We've seen this times and time again, where companies are not being very kind to the people on the right. I may believe PayPal tried to withhold Eric July's money, which I may believe I did a video on this, and this was an issue here. And I think that that these digital apps need to be somewhat restricted. And plus, not only that, Venmo's not used everywhere. And I have a specific friend that has used or is using Venmo, and he's having problems just buying certain games or even certain stuff in his local community, etc., because a lot of them just don't use Venmo. So it's a problem here that I see that is an occurring thing. And if banks are currently closing because of the high inflation rate, and we're going to go back into, again, a war, it doesn't seem like this is a good oncoming thing. It seems, I feel like there's going to be more banks, think there's going to be more banks closing within the next half a year or so. If already 21 branches have closed in 1 week, and do the Bank of America, and then Wells Fargo shutters 15, I am concerned on what's going to happen within the next half a year on how many more banks are going to close, how many more people are not going to have access to their money or be able to get to their money. They'll have to use digital apps to even use them. And I've known that some of these digital apps, if you're not going in the form of a paycheck, but if you want to deposit actual digital money in, or just hard physical cash, you can't do that because your bank ATM is closed or etc., and you can't have access to this. So this is a great concern that I have with what's going on here. And Biden can hide behind our economy's the greatest thing ever, when you can't say that when you have banks closing, big bank branches are closing in record numbers, and it seems almost like in a week. And it's not even the end of the year yet, and we're having this big of a problem. I just think this is going to be a huge problem in the coming year, and we need to address these things immediately. We need to redirect the inflation, but due to the war coming up, there's going to be some serious issues that I don't see things are going to be going on too very well. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share, and as always, take care my friends.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted, 'cause it's algorithmic disease, the social media.